Good afternoon. How's everybody doing today? Welcome to another in the series of presentations coming to you from your Spokane Woodcraft store. I'd like to welcome you all in on a beautiful Saturday afternoon. Thank you for taking time out of your day to tune in and maybe learn just a little bit of something about finishing. Probably the least favorite part of a woodworking project, for a lot of us anyway, is the finishing aspect of it. Sanding probably runs a pretty close second, but finishing, not everybody likes to do the finishing work. One of the things I think that people run into is that there are just so many different types of finishes available for different types of applications. So what I'm going to try to do today is to cover just a few of the most basic types of finishes that you'll find in use in most home woodworking shops. We're going to cover a little bit about some oil-based finishes, some water-based finishes, a little bit about lacquer, as well as shellac. So let's dive right in, if you will, and we'll start on my left-hand side over here with one of my favorite products. This is an oil-based product from General Finishes, which, by the way, is our primary line of finishing materials. But this is a material called Armor Seal. Armor Seal is a tung oil-based polyurethane, well, not really a polyurethane, but an oil-based varnish. One of the toughest finishes that I have ever used. It builds up to a very durable, long-lasting finish. This is great stuff. If there's a drawback to it, it does have a rather strong smell to it, so you really do want to use this in a well-ventilated area because it really does smell. But oil-based, very tough, very durable finish, easy to put on, regular paintbrush, foam brush, rag, spray it, whatever you want to do. It's very easy to apply, very forgiving finish. Now, right next door to it here is a new product for Woodcraft. This is a German manufactured finish called Osmo. Now, Osmo comes in a number of different formulas, if you will. We have it in several different types. I've just brought in a few cans here. But I think the best thing about the Osmo products is that most of them, maybe all of them, I'll be a little cautious saying all of them, but I know most of them anyway, are actually safe for contact with surfaces, or safe for use on surfaces that will come in contact with food, as well as on children's toys. These products use all natural oils, linseed oil, safflower oil, even sunflower oil. But they use all natural oils and waxes to create these finishes, so they are safe for all of those types of applications. You do have an interior finish and an exterior grade finish as well. The nice thing about this is that this is the only product we have, the only food-safe product we have that actually comes in different colors. So that's kind of a cool thing too. So for those children's toys that you want to have finished in different wood tones and so forth, we have that product for you to use now in the Osmo finish. This is going to be a big seller for us. We've just recently started carrying it. We haven't had it for very long, but I think the feedback that we've gotten so far has been fairly positive. So come on in and check out the Osmo line of finishes. I think you'll find them interesting. Gel stains. From General Finishes, we have the gel stain. This is another oil-based product. Gel stain is different from most stains in that it is about the consistency of mayonnaise, is the way I describe it. It's fairly thick. Now, what that lets you do is apply the finish to, or the stain, let's call it a stain, apply the stain to your wood surface. And because it's so thick, it doesn't soak right into the wood like water soaks into a sponge. Kind of stays near the surface for a longer period of time so that you can move the color around a little bit and get it right where you want it before you go into that short waiting period and remove the excess. Now, This is especially beneficial on woods that are very difficult to get good, even color on when you're using a stain. Let's think about woods like pine or oak or maple. Those are all woods, you could even throw cherry in there, I suppose. Those are all woods that are kind of hard to get a nice, even color on. Try the gel stain. I think you'd like it. I'm going to reach over here and grab a water base while I'm on the topic, because General Finish's new water-based finish can be used in the same way and on the same types of materials as the oil-based gel stain. And in fact, I should probably also mention that the oil base can be used over an existing finish without stripping it all the way back to bare wood. So if you wanted to restain your kitchen cabinets, for instance, give them a light sanding just to create a little bit of tooth for the new stain to grab onto, clean the dust off really well, put the stain on right over it. It will adhere to that with no problem. Let it dry, put a top coat of some kind on it. Shall we say, Mercio? And you'll end up with cabinets that will look very nice for a long time. So we'll put the water base back over here. All right. Next in line should be our wood bowl finish for you bowl turners out there that like to put a finish on that is food safe. The General Finishes wood bowl finish, 72-hour cure time, not just dry time, but cure time. So you've got a really good, quick curing product, food safe, about a semi-gloss sheen to it. Nice product there. Now, what we've looked at so far have been finishes that are traditionally applied using a brush. But you know, finishes can also be put on with a rag. You can wipe most of these finishes on using a rag. I've even seen people use their bare hand. I don't recommend that. I wouldn't do that. I've seen a guy do that, was quite surprised at it, but anyway, I wouldn't recommend that. But put it on with a rag. Watco actually makes a polyurethane that is specially formulated as a wiping varnish. Now, when you wipe a finish on, excuse me, just a minute there. When you wipe a finish on, it goes on very, very thin. And so it typically takes 2 to 3 wipe-on coats to equal the thickness that you would get from one brushed-on coat. So you want to keep that in mind when you're applying finishes. Wiped-on finishes will take more coats to create the same thickness of a finish, if you will. And then for those really hard, dense, oily woods that are difficult to finish, Watco actually makes a product for that as well called teak oil. Now, I don't think it actually has any teak oil in it, but they do call it teak oil. Woods like cocobolo or what would be another good example, linum vitae, ipe, things of that nature, things that, you know, woods that are really hard and dense typically resist having a finish soak into them. The teak oil specially formulated for that application. Water-based finishes. Out on the end here, we have what's called high performance. That is a water-based polyurethane varnish. Nice finish, has a lot of solids in it, so it does create a good durable finish. What I really like about the water-based stuff, soap and water cleanup, you get it on your hands, just soap and water, and very little smell to it as well. The other nice thing about a water base is that it will not alter the color of the wood. So if you're working with a wood like, say, maple, and you want to keep that nice light maple color, use a water-based finish on it, and you'll maintain the integrity of that color. Right. Did we have a question, Joel?
How many coats would you recommend for high performance or the Armor Seal?
How many coats of finish for either the Armor Seal or the high performance? You have to kind of look at what the project is. You know, if you're building, say, a clock that's going to sit on a mantle and only be handled when you're winding it or changing the battery and the movement, I suppose, that kind of thing. 2 coats would probably be more than enough of either of the product. If you're dealing with a project like a kitchen table, a coffee table, something like that, you might want at least 3 coats to build up a little thicker finish to protect that surface from abrasion, moisture, that kind of thing. So 2 to 3 in most cases is going to be more than enough. Okay, we already talked a little bit about the water-based gel stain there. Dye stains. We don't talk about dyes and stains very often, but especially in the case of a dye stain. Now, with a stain, like, well, any of the ones that I have on the table here, stains are some kind of a carrier that has a solid particle pigment in that finish that creates color. So that when you apply the stain, you deposit the pigment in the grain of the wood, you let it sit there for a few minutes, you wipe some of the excess off, and on something like maple, you may find that you've wiped off a lot of the pigment, and so your color is not the way you thought it was going to be. With a dye, you take the color, and I didn't bring any with me, but the trans tint, which is a liquid dye, is mixed into either water or alcohol. And so now you have a product that the pigment is already dissolved. And so it penetrates into the wood much easier. It does not rely on the deposit of a solid particle of pigment to create color. That brings us to what General Finishes calls a dye stain. This is essentially the best of both worlds. This is a carrier with the pigment already dissolved in it, straight out of the can, put it on a piece of wood, your color is there. It's very easy to apply. This is also a water-based finish, and it's very quick and easy to use. Comes in a lot of different colors, wood tones and primary colors. It's pretty cool stuff. If you've never tried a dye stain, or even a dye, give this one a shot. I think you'd like it. Another water-based finish from General Finishes is Exterior 450. This product is designed for use outside. It has mildicides and UV inhibitors in it, which are ingredients that will help it to stand up to being out in the elements. It comes in a number of different sheens, and you can actually get this in colors as well. So this is a neat product. Outside use, hard to beat this. If you want an oil base, General Finishes also makes an oil-based product called, are you ready for this? Are you ready? Are you ready, Joel? It's called Outdoor Oil. Joel's head is exploding over there on the other side of the camera. Outdoor oil, really good for picnic tables, Adirondack chairs, porch swings, any of those kinds of projects. The outdoor oil works really well. Wipe it on, let it sit, wipe the excess off, let it dry, come back the next day, put another coat on, you're done. Nothing to it. Need to renew that finish next summer. Give it a light sanding, make sure it's good and clean, flood a coat on there, let it soak in, wipe the excess off, let it dry. Really easy to use product. Endurovar. This is an interesting product. This is a water-based urethane finish, and typically a water base is going to be clear. It doesn't affect the color of the wood when you apply it. Endurovar, though, they've actually put an additive in it to let it create that kind of amber effect that you get with oil-based finishes. So now it's another product where you kind of have the best of both worlds. You've got the warm amber color that you get from oil-based finishes like the Armor Seal over here. But you have the ease of cleanup and the little to no smell of a water-based finish in the Endurovar. Nice product. Couple of things here in the front. Let me kind of slide things around here just a little bit. We have shellac. Shellac is an alcohol base. It actually comes from the secretions of the lac beetle over in India, so it is a natural finish. I wouldn't recommend drinking it or anything, but it is an interesting finish. It's very quick drying, 10 to 15 minutes, and it'll be dry enough you can put another coat on right over it. It comes in different colors. We have the amber, or no, I'm sorry, this is the sanding sealer. This is the wax-free version of it. It's about a 2-pound cut of shellac. Then we have it in an amber and a clear. These do contain a certain amount of wax. What's nice about the wax-free stuff is if you're working with an oily wood, you can actually apply shellac to that oily wood. It will adhere to it, and it will create what I call a barrier coat between that naturally occurring oil in the wood and the outside world, which then means that basically any kind of a finish that you want to put on over that, it will adhere to the shellac where it might not adhere to that oily wood. So shellac is a neat product. Also comes in an aerosol, which is also wax-free. That is a clear. And then we also have lacquer. Now, I will admit I have never used lacquer. So I'm not going to sit here and try to tell you guys a whole lot about lacquer because, like I say, I've never really used it. I have very limited familiarity with it. It does dry quickly. In an aerosol application like this, it would be very easy to apply. Yeah, that's about all I can tell you about lacquer. Like I say, I've never really used it, and I'm not going to try to make up information for you. Okay, so I think we've covered all of the basic types of finishes that I had here to show you. Joel, did we have any questions come in? All right, okay. Well, then that's all I've got for you this afternoon, folks. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.